the dirt on Tulsa. You got it.
Live.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tulsa Music Stream. This is episode 61. And if you could, make sure you share this on all of your pages, all your personal pages, your favorite groups. And also we are on Twitter if you want to check us out there. And we are also on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and get all your notifications from the Tulsa Music Stream. And also we are on Twitch, which is also a place you can go to watch this stream. We're on multiple platforms, and we have the drummer, Troy Tesla.
Yeah, he is already in here. We're going to go ahead and bring him on screen. I was joking with him. I said, thanks for showing up early. You're one of the rare guys that does that. So we definitely appreciate that. I need to unmute you real quick, Troy. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Can you hear us all right?
I can hear you okay. How's it on your end?
We're okay.
Good.
What I'd like to ask of the viewers, Troy's actually, he's asking if there's any kind of a delay because of the setup he's using tonight. He hasn't had a problem with it in the past, but put in the chat if you guys are getting any kind of delay and let us know if that's going on. Okay, let's get to it. Troy, the guy the mutual friend that helped coordinate this interview, Dustin Little, he's a good friend of ours and a good friend of yours. He tells us you have a lot of stuff going on right now. Why don't you tell us what you got going on?
Well, I always stay busy. If you can see, let me see here. I have a recording studio.
I was going to say either that or a little factory.
Yeah, I don't know if you can get all this.
Yeah, that's great.
Are you recording us right now?
No, I'm not.
Put us down on some
No.
Guest on the album.
Put us down on some 2-inch tape.
On the other side of that wall, I've got 2 drum kits set up.
Cool.
One being a John Bonham Vistalite kit that I love the way it sounds, and I do a lot of recording with it.
Sweet.
And now I can't see you. I have a mirror image of myself. Is that how it's supposed to be here?
No, it's actually.
just
well,
FYI.
you know what? I'll bet you. Hey, how's that?
There you go. That's better.
Sometimes I put you on full screen so our viewers can just see you
fine.
only.
Whatever you need to do on your end's okay. But so anyway, I have 2 drum kits set up, and I do a lot of work out of my studio. I've always had studios. I've had probably 5 recording studios. Mm-hmm. Started in California. I'm in Nashville now, and I've been really blessed to have had a lot of people come through the studio and do a lot of work over the years. Here in Nashville, and a lot of stuff through the Bay Area, everything from Third Eye Blind to Tower of Power to Testament to Great Kin to blah, blah, blah. I mean, I've just had a lot of people had come through my place, and it wasn't something that was on my radar back in the day in terms of getting into the studio business, which I'm not really. I don't look. I was at one time, but it was all really put together just to do production work and record and work with people and be on the creative side of it. It wasn't really so much business. And so I've just kind of carried that tradition. I didn't know that I was going to do it here in Nashville when I got here. And when I got here in 2010, I remember saying to my wife at the time, I said, maybe I'll spend a couple grand, just put me a little room together, and well, if you know anything about building studios, you can't get in and out of them very cheap. So, but I ended up putting a full studio together, and I did a lot of records out of there. And then I'm now a little bit further east of the airport, about 20 minutes out of Nashville, in a place called Mount Juliet. And so, yeah, I just kind of put it back together, and it just kind of keeps me really, really busy and working and in a lot of different ways, and meeting people.
It seems like a lot of rockers migrated out of the West Coast. Well, they went to Las Vegas, or they went to like Tennessee. What was the deciding factor, in you doing that?
It was 2000. I want to say 2006 or maybe 7. Tulsa was playing the Ryman, and we had a day off, and I remember spending some time here and looking around, and at the time I really didn't move here for the business per se, but but there's such an incredible, as you know, talent pool here. But pretty much most of the time, what you find, years ago, you would either move to LA if you wanted to be in the business, or you'd move to New York, But Nashville has really, come a long way, and it's not just country music. I mean, it's very eclectic. There's a lot of great players' music, and there's a lot of people. Obviously, you probably hear about it now. I mean, there's a lot of people that live here, in the area, and a lot of people moving here, from Justin Timberlake to, you got Mick Mars. Mick Mars is here. There's a lot
Vinnie
of people
Vincent,
here.
right? Nashville.
Excuse me.
Vinnie Vincent, didn't he live out there?
He might. He might be here too. And I've been blessed, and sometimes I'll sit in and I'll do some stuff with Derek St. Holmes. You might be familiar with Derek. Sure. And I did a record with him and Brad Whitford from Aerosmith. You probably know who Brad is. And we did a record called Whitford St. Holmes, and that's just the byproduct of me being here. I mean, Derek literally called me and just said, "Hey man, let's get together and jam. Come down and play with Brad and I." And I did. And, I think I jammed with him just a couple of times. I went down to SIR, and the next thing I know, I was getting ready to leave town because I was going out with the band. And Tesla was getting ready to hit the road, and I came in it was on a Friday, and I said to Brad, I was saying goodbye. I said, well, I'm going to be gone for about 5-6 weeks. And I remember him walking, he was loading his gear, and he was pushing his gear out of the studio at SIR, and he goes, well, we really need to talk, and he left the building. And I was thinking, well, that's kind of strange, And then Derek, he's such a freak for guitars and stuff. I mean, the guy really loves, as well as Brad, I've come to find out. And that, I'll tell you about that in a minute. We did some touring together. But I was headed out, and then I seen Derek, and he was in another room with a bunch of guitars, and I didn't bother to say anything. I just split, and it was about 5:00, and I was driving home, and I got a phone call from Derek, and he's all, "Hey man, can you go in the studio with Brad and I on Monday?" I was leaving Wednesday, and I was like, well, yeah, okay, what are we going to do? I don't know, we'll just do whatever, And I said, okay, that sounds cool. And we jammed through a bunch of music, and I hadn't really put a lot of notes or anything together. It was just very freeform. And the vibe was good, the energy was good. And I think from that point, he wanted me there. It was Friday, he wanted me there Monday, and I loaded in at 10. They got there at noon, and I had pretty much got drum tones, and they come in, and Derek's the kind of guy that really likes to work fast. Mm-hmm. I mean, we just throw up a click and we'd start playing. And from my end of it, and my perspective was, I'll just, throw some grooves down and play a little bit, and they can have some ideas and some things, and, maybe they can get something, back to a record later, and just collect some ideas is all I thought it really was going to be, quite honestly. And anyway, so we would take two takes, full performance. We were playing live, and we'd be onto another song. And Derek's just kind of mumbling and singing. So basically, I'm just playing time and following them. Mm-hmm. Wherever they're going, I'm just trying to catch the change, and, because there wasn't a lot of communication going. But I had played a little bit with them and jammed with them and kind of had a feel for what they were doing. And, and then, so I was hoping to get out of there about 5:00, and we had started tracking probably by 1. Mm-hmm. By the time they got set up, we got set up pretty quick. And then come 5:00, I probably recorded, we recorded about 4 or 5 songs.
Wow. That's awesome.
Maybe, yeah, right. So I'm like, man, shit, I'm looking at my watch, and I'm thinking, I got to get up for dinner, I got to pack,
right?
And I wasn't prepared to be there all night, so finally I called my wife, and I just said, look, I'm not going to make it home for dinner, and and I went back and I seen Derek, and I said, look, Derek, I said, I'm good. You got me all night, so whatever we're doing, let's do it.
Wow. And
we did, and so we finished up that evening, and he said, hey man, can you come back tomorrow at noon?
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. And we had recorded, I think, 6 songs, 5 or 6 songs. And and it was just really quick and fast and great. It was really cool. And I wasn't really paying a whole lot of attention to what was going down. We weren't even listening to the playbacks.
Sure.
I mean, we just kept moving, you know. So the next day I got there, and you know, and Brad, you know, the funny thing about Brad, you know, when I had met Brad, you know, he just basically said, "Hey man, thanks for coming down and jamming with us," and you know, and he was super, super quiet. He's not a guy that's really out, you know, talking a whole lot. I mean, when we were jamming, I mean, he probably said 2 words to me. That was it.
Wow.
And it was the same. We never had any conversations, and we were. So now we're in the second day, and Derek's just kind of directing traffic, you know, directing the ship. And Brad's just like, you know, they communicate, and, you know, so they kind of knew what they wanted and what they wanted to do. And now I come in the next day, and we're literally writing stuff right there. Brad's got new riffs and ideas, and, you know, and I remember his son coming down, Graham, who's a wonderful guitar player, great talent. And anyway, so I stayed there, and I put down a few more tracks, and it's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we had 9 songs recorded.
Wow.
And yeah, it was really cool. And and it was all live. It wasn't touched and punched and fixed and none of that stuff. It was just live and a good vibe and good energy.
Old school.
And then very much so. And so now I'm sitting there listening to the playback. Now everybody's kind of got a real great energy and happy and smiles. And Brad says to me, he's got it. The bass player's name's Chopper Anderson, great player, man. Chopper's a badass. He's done a lot of stuff here in Nashville. So I'm sitting there, and he's behind me. Brad is behind me, and he's got his arm around Chopper, and he says, "Troy," and mind you, this guy hasn't said 2 words to me the whole time, and I just looked at Brad and I go, "Hey, what's up, Brad?" And he's like, "You know what me and Chopper been doing for the last year and a half?" And I said, "Well, no." He goes, "We've been looking for you."
Oh, wow.
And I just stood up and gave him a hug, man.
Oh.
Yeah, that had been a good feeling.
That's cool.
That's cool.
It was the most amazing, beautiful compliment, and it really started a nice way for us. And I left, and I had to leave, and Derek called me a week later, and he said Brad was flipping out and how much he loved the record. And I was like, "Record? What are you talking about?" You know?
Well, you know, we have guests that are viewers that are watching, and you know, there's going to be some questions and stuff. But we're going to talk about, you know, what you got going on now. We want to talk about some things that you have accomplished already, and just kind of fill in some blanks of some things that we don't really know of you yet. And I wanted to kind of start off with, you know, with your Battle of the Bands years ago, you know, kind of that story of what kind of took you off. And I believe that was in LA, and you're kind of playing Starwood and all these really cool Hollywood clubs.
It was 17 years old, and I might even be able to pull a picture up here. I should have sent it to you.
Oh, you know what? I might have it. Tell me if this is it. Is that it?
That's it. Yeah, it was a little. That's a little. I think I might have been 18 there, possibly.
Wow.
But I have a picture. So what happened was I was playing in this band called Whisper. That's a band called No Thanks, and that band ended up turning into a band called Benny and the Jets, which ended up at the Starwood. And I'll get to that in Los Angeles. But we were in the Bay Area, and I was 17 years old, playing in my my real first original band. And I started probably playing with older guys in music when I was about 15.
Wow.
So, I bought my first set of drums myself. I had 3 paper routes. I had 2 consistently because I'm just a drug addict, alcoholic guy. That's who I am. 29 years sober, by the way.
That's awesome.
Congratulations.
That's way to go.
Yeah. But I say that because that's just my personality. I'm all in all the time.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm always committed and I'm in. But anyway, so I know we were kind of jumping back a little bit, you know, but that band just played original music. I've never played in any cover bands. I play in about 4 of them now.
Wow. Jeez.
because I missed out when I was a kid.
Sure.
I was just always in original, playing original music and being creative, which was really cool. So that band was called Whisper. And that band, I wish I had a picture, because Scott, the guitar player, he was a frickin' Kiss freak fanatic. And we did used to play Deuce, Strutter, and Black Diamond, and but for the most part, with all these originals that had been written, he was into this real space thing. And what he would do, he'd create all these outfits, and it was the coolest thing, So what happened in this battle of the bands? We had fog machines. You've seen that last picture of me that like behind me, it had No Thanks on there. That was the band. Yeah, exactly.
Ah.
If you could picture a big piece of plywood, like 4x8 sheet, all cut out in lightning bolts all the way around, with Whisper written and carved out in lightning bolts, with a strobe light boxed in behind it.
Wow.
Now, is that kick drum? Is the kick drum in that picture a huge kick drum? Am I just seeing
26? I always played a 26.
It looks big.
And I'm back. Yeah, and I got a 26 back here. I'm playing again on my Bonham kit. And
Okay.
I've got 2 studio kits back here. I might be able to drag this thing back here and show you guys. Yeah. But so anyway, here we had the fog machines. We had that. We had our songs. Everybody was dressed up, crazy. So we were like a little space band almost. And I had these white knickers with red and white striped socks all the way up to my knees, with these suspenders with a big, huge red bow tie and no shirt.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I was named Spunky Sparkle, and Scott, the guitar player, was called Quasi Quick Licks, and Dizzy Dazzle on bass.
Oh,
and what was the Jay was oh shit, what was his name? I'm spacing it. I can't believe I'm forgetting. But anyway, so what happened was when the curtain opened and we hit the stage, because they had like 2 stages side by side. So and it was a beautiful, nice theater, Chabot College, and it's cool. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But so when we came on and that curtain opened up, man, all the kids had ran down to the front of the stage. And it was sold out, about 2,500 people. It was a really good audience. All these kids rush the stage and they're just kind of digging it, and we're playing and we're just rocking out. And yeah, man, next thing you know, man, we won the battle.
Wow.
And we actually ended up winning 2 out of the 3 that we had joined.
That's cool.
One in San Jose and one in Fremont, and in the Bay. But it was really cool and a great experience, And from that point on, when the article came out, because some local articles came out and such, and it was really awesome to be in an original band and have something and feel that energy, and you just know that you just wanted more of it.
Now, how long was it, during that phase to when you were able to establish yourself in LA, and I know you've mentioned you've hung out with all like Kevin DeBro and all the Quiet Riot guys, during when their Mental Health album was taking off and all that, and how did that develop into meeting the guys in Tesla and getting your place to?
So that was 70. So we're in 1977. I'm dating myself here, but so. 1977, the band happens, Whisper. Now I get this offer to go to Memphis, Tennessee when I'm 17 years old. I'm not going to graduate. I'm not doing well in school. My parents had divorced, and there were some stories behind some of that. I don't know. We could turn this into a 2-hour conversation. So I'll be careful of that. But point being, I had an opportunity, and I wasn't going to graduate. So I thought, I'm going to go play some music. And I went to Memphis, Tennessee. And it was with that No Thanks guy, that band that you've seen. That's when I came home from. I was in Memphis for about 6 months. I remember coming home from that trip, and we were just doing some local stuff, and it was a great experience. We all lived in an apartment together. We all had jobs with the singer's brothers, who had a real successful company, and I just remember the 2112 Rush record just being on 24/7, man, and I just love that record. And Utopia, Todd Rundgren. I mean, that was kind of the stuff we were listening to. And the other thing I was listening to a lot of back then would have been Richie Blackmore's Rainbow Rising record with Cozy Powell, who was one of my heroes.
Yeah.
And but and that's when I'll never forget it, because I remember More Than a Feeling coming out. I remember Foreigner coming out. Feels like the first time.
Wow.
We're back there, we're jamming, we're just getting high and smoking pot, and at these parks and these parties, and they're blasting Skinner. I mean, it was such a cool,
good time in life,
awesome, amazing experience, like you would watch in some of these, these movies, that scene, it was there, and we were living it. And when I came back to San Francisco in the Bay Area, I stayed with the Benny and the Jets band. I started doing recordings, and we were doing really, really well around the area. And there was another guy around named Eric Martin, who you might know from Mr. Big.
Sure, yeah.
So Eric was around, and I'd see him in a band called Kid Courage. And I used to go to this place called Mabuhay Gardens. It was a punk club in San Francisco on Broadway. And I'm young, man. We were all young. Eric was probably, 18, 19 too or something. I remember seeing him, and I was like, oh my God, who is this guy? But anyway, what transpired through all of that, we were all kind of locals and all playing music. And the scene was great music scene. A lot of things happened, a lot of clubs to play. And then I got an offer to go with Eric Martin, and it was a band called 415. I don't know if you're familiar with the story or not. Are you familiar with any of this?
I am not.
Okay. So Eric Martin, before Tesla, is right. Eric Martin Band. And we signed to Elektra Records. We made a record back in 1982, 83. And we ended up having a guy named Herbie Herbert who managed us from Journey, and we ended up touring with Journey. We ended up touring with ZZ Top on the Eliminator tour. We were doing a lot of local things with Night Ranger, because it was Night Ranger and Eric Martin Band kind of coming up at the same time. We did American Bandstand. We did some really cool things. And after the second record didn't get picked up, we made a couple videos too, and they're out there. You can check them out. The record's called Sucker for a Pretty Face.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, there's a video for that, and also Don't Stop that we did a video for. And there's a live, when we went to Hawaii with Journey for like 5 sold-out nights at the Blaisdell Center, and that was all documented. And that concert, we have that too.
That must have been
there's some stuff that's floating around. And basically, I mean, the backstory to me getting in Tesla, which was called City Kid at the time, I got a phone call. Eric Martin Band was on the road with Eddie Money doing some dates. And what happened was, I lived in San Leandro, and just, if you went a little bit north, you'd go drive through Oakland to get to San Francisco. So in Oakland, Eddie Money lived in Oakland, and we were out doing some stuff, and there was a drummer by the name of Gary Ferguson who played with Eddie that I got really to be friends with. And so I kind of knew what was going on, and I don't know what the deal was, if he had other obligations or he was leaving or what it was. So I kind of had an insight what was going on there when this guy, Dwayne Hitchings, called me from Eddie's house, and he wanted to come over and play me these demos. And it was the band, the same lineup, with minus myself, and it had a drum machine on it, a song called Rock City and another one called Restless Hearts. And I just remember hearing Jeff's voice, and it just kind of really caught my ear, and I was really interested. And he told me, he said, look, we'd like you to come down and audition with the band, and and if you're not interested, Eddie was asking about you. And coming off the Eric Martin Band, it was like, this was a game changer for me, because it's so easy to get wrapped up into a hired gun situation, and I wanted to be in a band.
Sure.
I wanted to be part of something. And so that really piqued my interest, and I knew what the Eddie gig was paying. And it's one of those things, had I gotten it or not gotten it, Eddie was asking, and it probably would have been fine. He used to see me play all the time. So, but point being, it would have probably been for X amount of months, maybe a year. Who knows how long those things go for? And then you're out looking for another gig,
Right.
And I just really wanted to gamble one more time. I was 24, I think, at this time. Brian reminds me it was 1984, and he's probably right. His memory's a lot better than mine. But I went down and I watched the band. I watched them play 2 nights, a place called the Oasis Ballroom. And I remember watching the band. The first night I was a little unsure, and I knew that I had to bring my wife down at the time to make sure I had that kind of support, because they were 100 miles away from me, and it was going to be a real strong commitment, and I was not sure how I was going to do that. So I brought her back the second night, and I remember going down the dance floor and that's when I really singled all the members of the group out. And I remember watching Brian, and I thought, okay, cool. I watched Tommy, and I'm like, well, there's your rock star. You got to have a rock star. And then I watched Frank, and I was like, holy crap, this kid's freaking amazing. He was like 17 years old, playing keyboards, playing a guitar behind his head with his teeth. He was doing it all. We all know how talented Frank is.
Yeah.
And then this was the game changer. Right when I started watching Jeff, I was done. He had me the whole night. And when I kind of reviewed what had taken place at the end of the evening, I realized, I thought, I'll be a son of a gun, man. That guy kept my attention all night. I never looked at anybody else.
Wow.
I stayed with them throughout the evening. And I knew right then and there, I already knew who he was, and I already knew who the band was, and I already knew that the only thing missing from them was me.
Sure.
And I knew we were going to do exactly what we have done to this day. I never, ever not believed that. Did I ever think it would go this long? I never really gave it that much thought, but I knew what we were doing with all the bands that were out there, that we were going to do exactly what we did. I mean, it was an expectation that it was already kind of done. We just got to show up and get the work done,
And this part of your story, I think this is a good spot to ask you this question. Of course, you guys released Mechanical Resonance in '86, and then out comes the Great Radio Controversy in '89. I don't know if anyone's ever said this to you, but the song Paradise on Great Radio Controversy, to me, that song is to Tesla what November Rain is to Guns N' Roses. I just feel like it's this epic song that just takes you on a journey. Tempo changes. It's probably my favorite song you guys do.
I got chills. You just saying that. I swear my body is just rushing right now.
Fantastic.
And the reason it's rushing is because of Brian. Brian wrote that song, Brian Wheat, and that was his, Live and Let Die, or whatever that might be. And, and there's so many people have reacted to that song. And, I always gave Brian the MIP, the most improved player, because he, when he started, when we were young, we didn't quite have, that the sense of maturity that had transpired over the years, and just kept getting better. And he spent a lot of time in the studio, and he started working and producing, and as Frank did always. He used to do all our demos. So I mean, that song, it's a beautiful song, and we did play it live. We played it a lot acoustically, but there was a time where it was in the set and we would perform it, and the Band on the Run kind of thing. I remember that. I just remember all those changes and all the musicality that went into that. That was a great song, and I'm really happy that we had that chance to put it on that record.
Now, you guys, you and Def Leppard are just like, a match made in heaven. I mean, you guys come out and they put you on one of the biggest tours of the 80s. I mean, we're talking Hysteria. I mean, that album just blew up. And how you guys were able to land on such a huge tour with the controversy of the party under the stage and all that stuff. What memories do you still have of that tour?
Oh, I got a lot of memories. I think my fondest memories of what had transpired and how that had transpired. So we were going back and forth to LA. We did the showcase, and Tom Zutaut and Teresa Ensenada picked us up, and they were moving from Electro over to Geffen, and we were going to be the first signing along with Guns N' Roses. And Tom, there's a lot of history there you can look up. But point being, we had our record was done, and we were going to Europe, and we were doing some touring. Now we signed with Q Prime Management, Clip Bernstein and a guy named Peter Mensch. They currently still have Metallica, and they had Def Leppard back then, and they had Leppard for years, along with a lot of bands, But point being, we were in Europe, we were in Amsterdam, and I remember, Phil Collin and oh my God, why am I doing this? I'm spacing.
Joe Elliott, Rick Savage.
No. I am so embarrassed.
No, don't be.
He died.
Oh, Steve Clark.
Yeah,
Hey, Steve, thank you. Steve
You guys
Clark.
wrote a song about him.
I spaced on his name for a second there. I could see his face. I just remember and Rick Allen, and I remember we were in Amsterdam, and I remember them getting up, and I remember we jammed, and we ran around with Rick that night, and we kind of just hit it off and had a relationship that became of that, through that Hysteria tour that lasted almost 2 years, it seemed like, when we got on that tour, and I think that night probably cemented it, I think we even might have jammed a Leopard song that I don't remember exactly what we did, but I just remember it being very special. And it was the door open, probably for that tour. And our record was, doing well enough to be recognized, and we were getting some traction. And yeah, we went out. We did all of Europe. We did all of Canada. We did all of the States, all in the round. You might be familiar
That's
with
right.
Sure.
what that looked like. And yeah, there was a lot of things going on back then. I mean, everybody's in their. Frank was what, 18?
Wow.
19. Brian, same. They're young. I was 25, 6.
What was it like for you getting up? What was it like for you to see Rick Allen deal with that kind of as a fellow drummer?
I'll never forget. I'll tell you about that.
What was it like to watch him deal with that kind of adversity?
I know exactly the moment. We were in Belfast, Ireland. I remember walking in to the sound check, and I remember him watching him play, and I swear I just, my tears started rolling down my face, man.
Wow.
I was just so emotionally invested, and it just kind of, and I was just so blown away. And I love the story so much about Rick and his comeback and the band. I mean, I got to say, for the band
To be that
really,
cool.
I know. I mean, how many bands would actually stick with you through that?
Sure.
Exactly. Because they could have had
And Rick-
anybody by that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Rick's story is so great because, like, when they came in, from my understanding, and I think I understand it from what I remember, when they came in to see him, I mean, he was already figuring it out how he was going to do it. It wasn't like, getting I don't know what it was like on the other side of that, but for Rick, I mean, he had already made up his mind, and he was already figuring it out how to move forward.
Right.
Sure.
Right. Very cool story.
Yeah, really powerful story. And to this day, watching him is just so amazing, obviously.
Yeah, I agree.
Let me ask
And
you.
we've spent so many great times. We got to play together. We hung out, back in the day. We did a lot of partying together. We had a lot of fun. And,
Forever
yeah,
memories.
those are treasurable moments. I mean,
Sure.
and then, you come full circle and, all the way through 15, 16, 17, we toured with them, and almost another 200 plus dates. And
Yeah.
it just, yeah. I mean, how
You
many
guys
bands-
just kind of keep getting hitched up for these tours, and it's just amazing, and it's a great opportunity. And seeing Steve Clark play the last tours of his career has got to be just something of a milestone for you.
sad, very, he was so
Yes.
young and so great and so talented. And, I mean, we've all got demons, man,
Sure.
and it's just we all try to keep them at bay. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And
For
then
sure.
those things could come out, and we go through so many things, in life to make this commitment to play rock and roll.
You're right.
I mean, it's just, and there's no way to get through it unscathed. Sometimes.
Some survive and some don't, man.
Yeah, Troy,
Well-
let me ask you something. So you're talking about, the tragedies that we see, definitely in the music industry. We've lost a lot of our heroes to addiction. And I know that you're involved in not just so many musical things, but things that are truly for the betterment of mankind. You do, I've got the name of it. Sorry. What's your Troy show up?
Troy shows. It's
Troy shows up.
My Troy shows up program. Yeah, the interesting thing is, first of all, I all these things I'm involved with and that I do, I have never, ever set out to do these things. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go put a program together. Oh, I'm going to go put a concert together. Oh, I'm going to go try to raise money for this or that. It was always out of a necessity. Something happened and it was just like, oh, okay, well, we got to do this,
Right.
And that's how all these things transpire with me. My school program, what happened there is a guy named Brady Ayers with Jostens. He approached me to do Derby, Kansas, middle school. And he asked me and he said, hey, would you come speak at my school? Talk to my kids, my middle schoolers. And I said, well, what do you want me to talk about? And he's like, drugs. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I guess so. I've been sober a little while, and so I didn't really think too much about it. And he goes, well, I go, what are you looking for? He goes, well, give me 20 minutes of playing, 20 minutes of like, maybe presentation, and then maybe 20 minutes of question and answers.
Oh, cool.
So anyway, yeah, so I put some notes together. I had a little program that I exercised over on one of our breaks, and I threw some music together. None of it was Tesla music. It was a little Tesla intro video, and then I'd come out and I'd play. And I actually had the school band, the marching band. Every school I've done so far, I've had the kids involved. So, and I could forward you some stuff if you're interested. But
Sure.
But point being, I just simply said yes, and just kind of lost touch with him for a minute. He got back in touch with me and kind of called me out on it. And, I was kind of a little bit nervous about it because I hadn't really done anything like that,
Right.
And my whole philosophy in life is just show up,
Right.
So that's what I've been doing. And,
That's cool.
and I've done that with a lot of anxiety and fear, over the years. I mean, I always say everything scares me. Everything I've ever done, man, I've always had that thing inside of me that's been that nervousness, like, because you're always putting more on your plate than maybe you should handle or do at the time, and you got to rise up and you got to meet that.
Challenging yourself.
To meet that expectation, you know what I mean? And you don't really know if you're gonna or not. You never know what's gonna happen. Yeah. But the point is, so now here I am. We were in Denver, Colorado, playing some bike fest, and a friend of mine, Scott Gusty Richardson, I think it's got his last name, I believe. Christensen, excuse me. Gusty, a friend of mine, shows up. We're at the gig, and I tell him what I'm getting ready to do next week in Kansas. And he's like, "You're going to do what?" I said, "Well, I'm going to talk to these kids, I'm going to do blah, blah." And he's like, "Man, are you documenting this?" I said, "Well, no." He goes, "I'm coming, and I'm bringing my gear."
Cool.
This guy freaking packed up his vehicle, put all the gear, video, PA, everything he would need to document and record 5-6 camera shoot.
Wow. Awesome.
And he documented what you see on TroyShowsUp.com. That's all him from our very first school. I've not even put anything up since. I've got content for 3-4 other schools sitting on it. I haven't even gotten to it yet.
Very cool.
But point is, he showed up, man. He drove himself from Denver to Derby, Kansas.
That's incredible.
And if he hadn't have done that, I mean, we wouldn't even have all this content and all this stuff. And it just, and I remember I had all my notes on the floor, and I remember the marching band coming in right before I got ready to play, because I went in and seen the music director, and I asked him, I said, "Hey man, send the kids over. Maybe we can do something," because I was kind of free forming. I didn't have all my form together. Mm-hmm. And they show up like right before I'm like getting ready to go on. I go, "Hey, play me something." They play me a beautiful piece of freaking marching, awesome, killer piece of music. And I was like, "Holy moly, man, you guys just do that. Then you come out and I'll come out and blah, 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 and we'll do this." And that's what we did. And we got it all. And it was about maybe 700-800 kids, beautiful theater.
Wow.
I mean, the theaters they're doing in these schools today are phenomenal. Yeah. But that's kind of how the birth happened. And that's how I got involved,
Sure.
Well,
Scott, do you really have
cool. Absolutely. All that's just tremendous work, and
definitely.
we're talking about how such a huge milestone the Hysteria tour was, and you went all over, and it was a long tour and huge tour, but somehow you managed to even jump onto another huge tour, which was the Dr. Feelgood tour.
Oh wow!
With Motley Crue.
Yeah. Yeah,
And-
you know.
And
Yeah.
that was the highlight of their career. That's when they were the biggest, the number one.
Probably
album.
the most fucked up too.
That's interesting. What was that last comment?
Hey, that's probably when they were at their most fucked up too, as far as drugs.
Check
and
this out.
Alcohol.
Well, that was their sobriety
You're-
tour.
You're not gonna check this out, man. You're gonna love this part of the story. So now we go out there with Motley, the whole band. We're out there with them on that tour for about 2 months, and that's where the whole 5-man acoustical jam thing was born. I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Okay.
So we get out there, they're all sober, the whole band.
Oh wow.
The whole band was sober. Unfrickin' believable.
Were they
Tommy-
grumpy?
No, they were cool. They were cool. Matter of fact, I'm telling you, they were playing so amazingly well. Everybody was on top of their game. Lori Quigley, I remember, was mixing the band. Tommy had that roller coaster thing track around the top.
Yeah.
G-string up there, just freaking killing it, man. I'm such a huge Tommy fan. I think he's such a badass.
Yeah.
Did you two
but-
get along pretty well on that tour?
Actually, yeah, but no, we did very much, and we do. I mean, they rolled through Nashville, a couple years ago, and I called him day of show. I just got in, and he's like, "Yeah, come on down." So we're still good, man. I don't call him all the time. We don't talk, and there's a lot of stuff. We're all both just doing our thing. I don't know, man. Like I said, I've always had studios. When you get home off of a tour, you got X amount of days to get something done, and that's you're just always so busy. And then you're back in the studio, make another record, and you go tour, and you do that again. It's just a repetitive cycle. But on that tour, I got to say, the band, they were on fire, man. They were so good every freaking night.
Wow.
I feel so blessed that we were a part of that.
Yeah.
To witness them in that time, because my understanding, and I think it's the only time in history of Motley Crue where the whole band was sober, and it was only very short-lived, I believe.
Right.
But we were there, and then Tommy was married to Heather at the time, and she was a sweetheart, and I remember we were playing, where were we? In Los Angeles, outdoor theater. I'll think of it here in a second. I remember Tommy and Heather showing up, because they had just gotten back from Mexico and we were playing, and so they come down, we hung out, and and it was nice. I try to remember to this day, because of Motley Crue being Motley Crue. I don't know how this happened. I don't even know if Tommy would remember, quite honestly, but I do remember being at home. I don't even know if I had met Tommy. I just remember him at my house, coming to my house. I remember waking my daughter up because she was a big Motley fan, and she didn't get up and meet him or anything, but I just remember that taking place. And when I think back, man, it's almost like it's just weird,
Right.
because I don't know how that happened. I don't remember reaching out to him. When the first Tesla record came out, we got a lot of attention, and people like Tommy and things. It was cool because it just kind of opened a door for people to want to talk to you, know?
Absolutely.
So, but at any rate, I have a lot of great fond memories of those tours and being a part of that for sure.
You would think that with your history with touring with Def Leppard and the Motley Crue, that somehow Tesla would have been able to land on that stadium tour. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Well, I think after 2015, it's us, Styx, Leopard. 2016, it's us, REO, Leopard. 2017, it's us, Poison, Leopard. Well, at some point, man, I got to tell you, it was a little much, and I don't think it did. I think the stadium tour could have made a lot of sense, but I think we played that card, man. We just went so long on that. And maybe for them, they wanted some new blood. Maybe they were tired of us,
Can't imagine that.
But Brian and Joe were super close, and I think that relationship probably helped us, over the years, along with us being produced by Phil Collin, who did a record for us called Shock, and we worked with Phil. He wanted to get involved. He loved the band, and he reinvented that picture you just put up. We look good there because of Phil Collin. I mean,
Is that
seriously,
right?
and yeah, because what happened was while we were on that tour, if you look at everybody, there was no conscious effort of how the band looked. And if you go back a year ahead of that, in 15, because Phil, I remember him approaching the band saying, "Look, man, I love you guys, but you can't look like roadies up there.
Oh,
And
wow.
you guys, you got to get it together."
Well, that's how you guys stuck out in among all the '80s hair bands anyway, because you didn't do that. You know what I mean? You guys were kind of more natural than the rest of them.
That's true. I think that served us. But at this time, when Phil came involved, I mean, he really brought it, man. That guy really invested everything into this group to reinvent us. He was the guy that reinvented the band, in my opinion.
Let me read you a couple viewer comments, if you don't mind, because you have a lot of people in here watching from all over the United States.
Yes.
We've got Columbus, Ohio, here in Oklahoma, Phoenix, Arizona, Portland, Oregon, Chicago, Illinois, and Niagara Falls, New York.
Hello to all of you.
So let me read a comment from someone in Niagara Falls. Tina Agostino says, "Thank you for the drumsticks from last time you guys played the Rapid Theater here in Niagara Falls." And then David Holland just says, "Thanks for the music." Now, I do want to ask you something. I'm usually the person on the panel here that covers the deeper topics. So they're great at music history. I'm good at like digging into deep topics. So I want to ask you, there is a documentary that came out this year called The Guest List. And it covers the tragic station nightclub fire in Rhode Island back in 2003. And there's a lot of talking in that documentary from Dee Snider. And he pretty much gives you credit for single-handedly putting that benefit show together. And I just want to know a little bit about how that came together and what spurred you to do that.
Well, I had never personally played that club. I knew. I remember waking up in a fog. I was sleeping on the couch. I woke up and the news was on, and all I remember is seeing everybody stacked up in the doorway.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody remembers that scene.
Oh yes.
It was freaking
horrible,
unbelievable. And when I fell back asleep, and when I woke up, and I realized what had happened, I mean, that was devastating, of course. Now, we were touring a lot, and we were going through Providence, and we were playing Lupos, and I remember some of the survivors had come down and that we had met at a meet and greet. And there was a packet of information that was left on our bus for Frank Hannon, our guitar player. And I remember when we left that evening, never really gave any thought about what had taken place, but as we were driving down the road next couple of days, that I just got interested, and I picked it up and I started looking through it, and there was a number to call, and I thought, well, I can make a donation, what can I do? And I thought, well, I'll just, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to, I could spend a few grand and I could buy 20 guitars and I can get them all signed, because you can buy guitars for $100 or whatever. Sure. And sign them, and they can go, auction them off and make some money. And so that was all I was planning on doing. Mm-hmm. And so I called, and this gal, Vicky, she was the president of stationfamilyfund.org. And what her, and so I'm telling her what I want to do. And she says, Troy, you really need to call this guy, Todd King. Mm. And I said, okay, I'll call Todd. And so I got on the phone with Todd, and he started telling me about their situation. There were him and Vicky and a few others that got out of the club who went with their friends who did not survive. Because there was 100 people died, 200 injured, 65 orphan children. Mm. So that's the story on that tragedy. And now I'm talking to Todd, and he's telling me about, well, we've just been trying to raise money, through this and that. car washes and whatever. And I remember he told me about Carmine Apiece was doing a lot of help, really working hard and trying to help out. And I thought, oh, I love Carmine, man. That's awesome. And I said, so as I learned more about their story, they didn't have any expenses. I mean, they were literally using their own money to get whatever they could to help these orphan children and families so their insurance wouldn't lapse so they could be taken care of.
Wow.
So they started this stationfamilyfund.org. Their lives had been completely 100% immersed and committed. That was their life for the next 20 something years. I mean, or maybe well, it'll be the 20th year anniversary next year, so 15 plus at the time, whatever it was. So now when I'm talking to Todd, I'm like, Todd, I said, hey, I'll call you back in a minute. I hung up. We're driving down the road. I'm sitting in the front of the bus. Jeff, our singer, is in the middle of the bunk area standing there. I look behind me and Jeff's there. Now, mind you, we had somebody we lost in that fire by the name of Jeff Rader. Jeff Rader was Jeff Key's personal assistant.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And so I just simply walked up to Jeff and I said, Jeff, I said, hey, man, I said, how about we go do a benefit, for these people? And I'll never forget it. He just looked at me and he said, Troy, he goes, is it going to cost us any money? And I said, Jeff, it won't. I'll figure it out. It won't cost us any money. And it didn't, by the way. So anyway, so I went to Brian and Frank and they agreed to do it, and it was cool. Everybody had a heart, for this. And so now there's a concert before that one that there was two concerts, the one you probably don't know about. But so I called, I think at the time I talked to Brian, I think he talked to Pat Travers, and we got Carmine Apiece. And then I went down, I was living in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's so funny. I just got done texting Barry Kircher from Shinedown. We've been going back and forth tonight. And I'm going to tell you the story. I didn't know him. I was living in Scottsdale, and I thought, wait, that band Shinedown, they got a song out on the radio. They were doing Simple Man. Remember that?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So that was out on the radio. And this is in like 04-05. So I went and they were playing locally, and I went and knocked on the back door. And I asked if I introduced myself and asked if I could come in and talk to the band. And we talked, and then we got on the bus, and I told them what I was getting ready to put together or show together in Providence, Rhode Island. And I said, would you guys be interested in, being a part of it? Love to have you aboard. And they go, well, we got to talk to our management about it, but yes, we would love to.
Wow.
And so sure enough, man, they signed up, and it was us, it was Travers with Carmine, and then Shinedown, and then Tulsa closed, and we had our first concert. It was I called to them back and told them we were going to come to a concert. I said, look, we're going to do a concert, but there's no heroes, no interviews, none of that. We're going to do it under the radar, and we don't want any press on it.
No fanfare.
Right.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. So I said, but we're going to come. And so I told him, he got excited about it. And so we started working on it, Todd and I, and we put the show together. And basically we sold out a 3,300 seat venue. We raised over $100,000 that evening.
Wow.
And it was the first kind of real money that they had to put in their bank, which was really cool.
That's great.
And it brought a lot of healing. It was a second year anniversary. And a lot of those, survivors that were there and families, I mean, they were kind of abandoned, unfortunately. And this was the first real thing that came around that I think gave them a sense of hope. And it was time to start processing, some of that information. So fast forward a couple of years after that, I was passing back through there, and I got a phone call from this guy, Donovan Williams. Donovan was in a coma for 3 months. He's blind. Wow. And he had called me, and I'd got to know him first go around with the benefit we had put together. And he says, Troy, I want to meet you at the hotel. Where are you going to be? And so he met me that evening. We were playing Lupos the next day. And he says, I got him. And I came in. I'll never forget it. We're in the bar, and I was having a cup of coffee. And he said, Troy, he says, I got a meeting for you with Deborah Pacelli. She's the assistant to the GM at the Dunkin' Donuts Center, the arena.
Wow.
And I swear to God, this is a God honest truth. A lot of people that know me, I'm a faith-driven guy. I have a relationship with Christ, and that's how I serve my life. My faith is everything. And I just remember looking up saying, it's done.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I got this. No problem. We're there. And I knew it. And that's all it was. When he's in it, And you know when you're supposed to do something and you pick up
Yes.
the call and you answer the call.
That's right.
That's all it is. You answer the call and and I just did the follow through for the next 5 months of putting that whole show together. I became the promoter. I went down, I secured the building. I called Todd. I go, Todd, all we need is a $2,000 down payment for an insurance liability policy for $2 million. I says, and we can have our show. So it says the Station Family Fund presents, it says Wake Up to Love presents the Station Family Fund Benefit Relief Concert. And I've had my foundation's called Wake Up to Love. So I was like, cool. So we could have our concert. And the first call I made was actually Michael Sweet from Stryper.
Yes.
And because I already knew I wanted Christian bands, I didn't want it to be all rock bands. And Dee's got this story. So Dee, if you're listening, you got to clean this up because you got amnesia, son. Let me remind you what happened. Okay. I told you, I said, well, it's not going to be just an 80s concert. And I says, we're going to have Christian bands, we're going to have country bands and rock bands. And when I made the phone call to Dee and Dee got involved, it was great because I said, Dee, I need you to just be the voice of this thing, you know, and be the front. And he took it all on and he brought everything with him, man. I mean, I got nothing but praise for that man.
Yeah.
Wow.
God bless you guys for doing that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Scott.
It's
Sorry.
very honorable.
So
and just
there's so much. It's a lot to the story, a lot of work, and it happened. And it's just, you know, for me, glory to God. You know, that's really all it is.
Sure.
You know,
Thank
I mean,
you for
you just-
doing it.
yeah, that's a great story and
Good heart.
and just, you know, a lot of people, I mean, just have the heart, but just don't have the will and or the know-how to do those things that you did. And
Right.
so
The means, maybe.
Yeah, we really thank you for
Well,
doing something so.
You
so
know, when you
polished.
think about something like that happening, that after it happens, you can think of so many times where it probably could have happened, and you know, it's like surprisingly, all the you know pyrotechnics that were used in small clubs. I mean, I remember in the '80s as being underage and going seeing bands that use stuff they probably shouldn't have been using.
Sure.
So
when you're young, we're not thinking, you know.
That's right.
You're right.
We're really not thinking. We're just out to have a good time. I know I was. I mean,
Put on a good show. Yeah.
That's why I had to get sober.
Sure.
You know, I had a little too much fun.
Yeah.
But-
Can you tell us a little bit about the recording sessions of Busted Nut, the things you guys kind of went through during that period? I know it was maybe, you know, the word out there is it was kind of a rough patch during that time.
Well, you know, the crazy thing about that for me, the great, beautiful thing about that's when I started getting sober. I was sober. I mean, I was working on getting sober in New York, and the guys were out every night partying. And when I got sober, I didn't alienate myself. You know, I tried to stay active, and you know, I didn't want to hide away.
You're going to come across it, and you're going to be
Yeah.
hanging around it. I mean,
Yeah.
so you might as well get used to it.
I had to be careful of certain things, but you know, no, at that time, I mean, they were going out and having a good time. They were always coming in hammered, or you know, from the next night before, you know, the next morning. But it was such a great that record with Terry Thomas. Oh, I was talking Psychotic Supper. You said Bust a Nut, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking about Psychotic
That's
Supper.
okay.
Okay, Bust a Nut. Terry Thomas comes in. That was if it wasn't for Terry, that record would have never got done.
Really.
I mean, that's how. Yeah, that was not a good time for Jeff, and the band. I mean, because we were just kind of out of control with whatever we wanted to do on our terms of how we wanted to do it. Hey, we're gonna book the session. We're gonna start at 12, and maybe someone's gonna show up at 6 o'clock in the evening. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of things, and you know, it was, you know, there was just a lot going on back then, and it took a minute,
Yeah.
you know, to get that record done. And
I
again,
know
great-
a lot of
great
the
story for that.
I know a lot of the hardcore Tesla fans really enjoy that album. You know, I see comments of where you guys just don't play any of those songs off that album, but you know, it's still like, it's sort of like, you know, like, I don't know, some albums from Kiss that the fans just love, but you know,
Right.
it didn't go.
They're
over.
never going to play.
Right.
Well, I mean, you know, it was not I mean, we did play songs off those records, you know, we did. And whether they became staples in the set or not, might a little different, you know.
Right.
What took place as we started getting back out there 15, 16, 17 with Leopard and trying to reinvent ourselves, when you're doing that, you've got to play the hits. you know, and Brian used to really hammer that, and he was right. He was right. And I love Frank because Frank was all about the B-sides, and I like the B-sides too.
Sure.
And the deep tracks, you know, we want, and you got to have some of that. So having some balance, but sometimes, you know, Frank kind of ran the set list, and you know, I was just like, hey, whatever you guys put on there, I'm playing. I'm good. It don't matter to me what we're playing. You know, and that's kind of how it ran. You know,
got to have signs. Got to have modern day cowboy. Got to have little Susie.
Love song. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
So at this present time, are you still on, taking a break from the guys right now?
I am. Yeah, I'm on a bit of a break, and right now I'm, you know, personally, there's a lot of things going on in my life that I'm, you know, this thing that we do doesn't cater to bands. I mean, to families, excuse me.
Right.
So at the time, you know, that this had gone down and COVID and everything, it just really gave me some time to step back and kind of look at things. And, you know, and I've been running hard with the band for, you know, 36 years. And I love the guys and I love the band. I'm a fan. I always will be. I got nothing but praise for them. I mean, they gave me a great life, you know. And I think we all share in that. And, you know, so right now I've been doing a lot of different projects. And, you know, like I said, I never played in any cover bands, man. So I went out and played in a James Taylor tribute.
Wow.
I went out and did some stuff with this Led Zeppelin tribute. Did a Van Halen thing with these friends of mine called Completely Unchained.
Very nice.
And then I'm in a classic rock tribute. And those are some of the things. And then on records, you know, I get to do a lot of records. I'm here. I like being home. And quite honestly, I just signed up. I'm doing some dates with the Guess Who right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I've done a half a dozen shows, and Gary Peterson, the drummer, and you know, I'm just hopefully he'll be back, you know, next week. But like I told him today, I said, look, Gary, I'm here as long as you need me, man. Do what you got to do. Having fun with the guys, like the band, like the guys. Yeah, good stuff, man. A lot of good stuff happening, and I've been awesome. really blessed to play on a lot of records, everything from Doris Day to Keith Emerson.
Incredible.
So, have you been in contact with Tommy recently, or?
No, I have. You know, it's funny. I just talked to his drummer, David. I put Dave in there with Tommy. Tommy and I were talking. Tommy actually wanted me to do the record, and you know, I hadn't really talked to the band about it because there was a lot of bad blood, and I didn't want to bring it into the band. And I didn't know who felt what. So at the time, I had seen him when I was going through Florida. You know, we connected, we talked, and I went over, and his wife cooked dinner, and my wife, and you know, it was great. And then, you know, we that was, you know, a few years back, and then I just told Tommy, I said, look, man, I'm not your answer, man, and I got a guy for you. And that's who's playing with him, Dave Parks, dear friend of mine. So they did the record, they've been touring, they've been having fun, and you know, but I haven't talked to him lately. No.
I would say that you got it. I mean, if you're happy at home, you got that nice little studio right there.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
you can make music from there. You be with your family. I think that I think you're a lucky guy there.
Definitely.
It's not a bad deal, man. And you know, quite honestly, I like diversity.
Sure.
You know, and I got to say, you know, Steve Brown, the drummer who's playing with Tesla, he's a great drummer, great person, great guy. And we're not best of friends or anything, but I've always known Steve over the years, and I always knew he was the right choice. And I had him pegged out years ago before I even had to make the phone call, you know. And so, I mean, it's perfect. You know, it's really great because if you think about it, it's a win-win. And I think it's even a breath of fresh air probably for the guys right now, you know. I mean, it's like having a new girlfriend for a minute, right? Sure. You know, will we ever play again together? I don't know if that'll ever happen or not. I don't know what we will do moving down the road. But right now, you know, Steve's the drummer, and it's his gig, and I'm happy for everybody, and I'm happy for me. And
sure, and if you don't, you're part of something, you know, that you guys built that's really special. So
yeah.
I'm sorry, one more time.
I said if you don't play with them again, you've helped build, you know, like you said, was it 36 year.
A legendary
band, right?
It's fantastic. I'm pulling my phone up. I want to play you something over the phone. You'll dig this.
Cool, man.
This is what I'm really excited about. There's a guy. I was working with my son. It's my son's. He was producing this guy named K-Riz. He's 29 years old. He's out of Reno, Nevada, and I said, my son was going through a surgery, and he says, "Dad, would you put some drums on this stuff for me?" And I said, "Sure." And I spent 3 weeks in California with him, and I just fell in love with this guy. And so take a listen.
Sure.
Stop trying. No, you are better. No, you are better. Got heart. Like a lion.
Cool.
Don't stop trying. No, you are better. No, you are better. Got heart. Like a lion. Yeah. I feel the rhythm inside my soul. I know I'ma make it. As time goes on and on and on. And you find a way to make your life how you want it to be. I tell the Venus, get beside me. Got no time for feeling low. Might as well give it all you got. You never know when you'll be gone. Spend my time inside lions. That is what I love.
Man, that's some funky beats right there. That's funky.
A little sublime.
If I was to, I could play. We've got so many songs. I'm in the studio doing his record right now. The guy that lives here, Don Derby, friend of mine, Christian, freaking ridiculous.
Wow.
Do you mind if I give you 30 seconds of this stuff?
Go for it. We're going to let you go here pretty quick, but yeah, let's end on a cool note here.
If I, this is, well, we don't have to get into this right now, but I'll give you just a second. Now, I don't know if you're a fan of any Christian music or not.
I am.
But this guy here, listen to this.
Eat minds up, it sounds too good to be true. This thing they call God's grace, but it is carrying me through. It's coming from the one that made a way. I got a heavenly view. My eyes have had a change. I know what I believe is the reason that is leading me to see beyond the season where my soul was unchained.
I'm gonna stop it.
That's nice, dude.
But you can see the talent pool's really strong.
For sure.
And that you recorded that there?
I'm doing all this. Yeah, I'm doing all
That's
this.
Very
excellent.
cool, man.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of great work. So, I get to explore in those other areas. I talked to Derek today, and, I can go out maybe. I just love playing music, man. That's
Sure.
all. I love playing drums. I'm still a fan. I'm still as invested as I was buying them, back in the day.
You bet. Let me read you a few more viewer comments and we'll start wrapping this up. Thank you for giving us so much time tonight. And again, thank you to Dustin Little. Thanks to Dustin Little for coordinating this with you. We really appreciate it. So Scott Hilpert says, Bust a Nut gets better every year. It ages, a very underrated album. Jim Woodworth says, I have personally witnessed Troy pick up the ball and run. Dude is an awesome human. Gail Trunk says, Troy, you are amazing. And then our buddy Travis Arnold, we're praying for you, man. He's out there getting ready to ride out the hurricane. We're praying for your safety. He says, Tesla wrote absolutely great songs. So we just wanted to share some of those comments with you.
Yeah.
But fellas, do you have anything else for Troy before we start wrapping up?
Did you say the Tanya Bell?
No, go ahead and read it.
Thank you for providing the soundtrack to my life in the 90s.
Oh, that's nice.
That's what I'm experiencing.
Lots of questions and lots of comments here. You can find it on the Tulsa Music Stream Facebook page. If you want, you can come in and hit like or reply to some of these if you wish. But it was a great show, great interview.
Definitely.
And we're proud to have you on here.
Absolutely.
You talk about sobriety, and I'm about 1.5 years in my sobriety.
Congratulations.
And I absolutely have a story that one time you guys, Tesla, played in Oklahoma City, and it was maybe the early 2000s, 2000, 2001, somewhere around there. It was a smaller venue, but it was probably the most fucked up I've ever been. And I went with some girls and a friend of mine, a bandmate, yeah, I don't know if they went backstage or whatever, but I was pretty messed up, and I thought, I couldn't find them. I couldn't get backstage. The security pushed me away, but let the girls go through. I couldn't find my buddy. I was in Oklahoma City. I live in Tulsa. I didn't drive up there, and somehow I don't know if I got kicked out of there or what. The concert was still going on, and I ended up walking to I guess end up at the Samurai bar club there in Oklahoma City. I don't know how I managed to find it. It was cold. I didn't have any jackets or nothing on me, and somehow by walking to that club and going to some stranger's house and then them calling the police on me because I was so messed up that as walked again on the street that my friends actually found me walking down some residential street. But that was one of my my experiences with Tesla out in Oklahoma City.
Oh, jeez. Well,
and how soon after did you get sober?
Soon after, that was in my younger 20s when that happened. But that was one of my biggest fuck ups.
Yeah. He's about a year and a half into his sobriety, Troy, and he's doing a fantastic job. He and I are married, and we're in a band together. And Nine, the guy in the middle, he's in a band here too. So we're coming at you from not only the human perspective, but the musician perspective as well. And this has just been so fantastic. And I just want to say thank you for being one of the good guys out there. It's a rough industry. It's filled with a lot of turmoil and addiction and just bad business. And you're a light in a dark place. And I just want to say thank you for doing that. And we certainly thank you for coming on with us.
Pleasure was all mine.
All right, buddy. You take care of yourself and stay in touch and let us know how we can help you promote things going forward. We're here for you.
Thank you, Troy.
I have some stuff I'm involved with. The Wake Up to Love site is not up yet, wakeuptolove.org. There's a backstory. I'm heavily involved with a lot of homeless here in Nashville, and a lot of people, drug addict, alcoholics, and I have a team of people that we help people. We get them into sobriety. We get them into 30-day inpatient programs with no insurance. And I mean, it's pretty remarkable what we're doing. I haven't posted. I don't talk about it online, but I have a video I'll send you that I think you'll find interesting, and you can just keep it confidential for now, but I think you'll enjoy it.
Definitely want to stay in touch with you. You're such a good guy. Thank you for being a light for the Lord, and thank you for coming on with Tulsa Music Stream.
We'll get you back on sometime.
Absolutely.
Next time you got to play the drums.
Yeah,
you gotta have the drum set ready, man.
I got them right back here.
We have had Billy Sheehan play the bass on here.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've had guitar player for Whitesnake play guitar. And
David Aldrich.
Yeah,
Doug Aldrich.
Doug Aldrich.
Doug
Holy
Aldrich.
Moses! Sorry.
I play with Doug
play
too.
guitar on here.
Yeah. So you're up next. We'll get you on.
Yeah.
Guitar player for Megadeth play guitar.
Yeah.
So we got to have a
Awesome.
drummer.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy. I mean, I could go set this thing right up and I could play right now for you back there. I've got my Bonham kit set up. I've got my studio set. You want to see it real quick?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, let me unplug this thing. I've got to unplug this drive.
I'm going to put you on full screen so people can see this.
I'm going to unplug this. Okay, I just did a big no-no and unplugged my drive.
Uh-oh.
You with me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's see how this works out.
Taking
Here
the
we
tour
go.
with you, bro.
This is so cool, man.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, boy. Looky there. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, wow.
So this little guy here, you see this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I have holding. I don't have any hands at this point, so I got Rick Allen beat. Okay.
Yeah, there you
Oh,
go. You're crazy.
Right, there's that. I got that one. I'm holding, obviously, this thing.
yeah, yeah.
You need a camera person.
It'd be my luck, and this thing will fall over. This wouldn't be good.
Man, this is getting exciting right here. Oh. Why can we not hear that? It
It's
must.
probably too distorted.
Well, we can see it. Oh, man. You know what? You know what stinks about that, Troy? I think it was so distorted it overdrove the mic, and we only heard about 2 beats of that.
Well, here, check this out. So down here, I've got a workstation so I can record. Can you see this?
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got my set. This is my studio tight kit.
Oh,
This
your
kit is
drummers
really
better be
tight.
watching.
Now I've got another one back here, the Bonham kit.
Oh, the bottom.
Oh, that's
yeah.
awesome,
Oh,
man.
sweet.
Wow.
You like that?
Yeah.
Love it.
And I got another workstation back here.
Holy cow.
Look, so I can record myself. And
So
It's
you
really-
use all your sets there to record them.
well, I've got and I've got lots of drums and
Sure.
So, but I've got more than I need, to get everything done. By the way, I'm doing a thing with a guy from Public Enemy right now too, a record with him. I
Oh
forgot
my
to tell you that.
gosh.
Flavor Flav?
No, it's actually a guy named Brian Hardgroove. That's his
Wow.
name, the bass player. He'd done all that stuff. He'd been there forever and a day. He's super talented. He lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and him and another guy, Salon. This guy, that's three of us, and we have a band actually called Resident Alien, and I just said yes, and he came over. We visited. He found me, and it's been really cool, So
you kind of have that alien, that Martian theme popping up in your life
It's,
over and over. What's going on there, Troy?
It's kind of funny, but I've got 2 tracks done with them. It's really cool. It's a little different than I expected. It's not. I didn't know a lot about. It's nothing political. I just told him. I said, Brian. I said, if it's good, positive, I'm in. I don't do negative. That's all I said. And we are, man. He's it's cool. So anyway, you'll probably be hearing from that pretty soon too.
We're going to be watching for it. You just thought we were letting you go. Now we're really going to let you go.
Now the interview starts, Troy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I'm good. If you got to go, you got to go.
Well,
But
I'm going to be honest with you, my friend. I really have to go to the bathroom. That is
well, you
really,
better get going.
yeah, that's the only reason I'm.
And she can't just pick up the computer and take it in there with her. So.
No, I can't.
I'm
It's-
just saying, I just spaced on that and I forgot about it as I was coming in. So anyway, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
and we'll
man.
catch up and we'll do it again sometime.
It sounds
Yeah.
great.
Great.
Thank you so much. You have a great
All
night.
right.
Thanks, Troy.
All right.
Take
you so
care.
much.
Bye, buddy.
Take
All right,
care.
see ya.
All right. We'll
If
see
you
ya.
want to go ahead and go pee, Scott and I can maybe tell some jokes or something, huh?
That'd be fine.
All right. I mean, I don't know. What do you got there, Scotty?
Well, I just thought, it was interesting.
You guys carry the show. I'll be right back.
All right, you go ahead.
It was just so cool that these, how he explained a lot of the old school stuff with the tours that he'd been
Sure.
on, and that was one Def Leppard show that I missed. I didn't get to see the
I didn't either.
the
But,
Hysteria one.
but it was a big one too, man. That's a huge
Yeah.
tour. That was a huge album and lots of hits on that album.
And I believe they came here in Tulsa too, and I just didn't get to go.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't know what I was doing that year.
And I think I missed the Dr. Feelgood one as well.
I did not go to that
but I
either.
think Warrant here in Tulsa was the opener on that one.
On the Dr. Feelgood one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's really cool. There's a lot of people, that were kind of talking about him in the chat room, joining Tesla, getting back with them. And, it's just going to be a decision that's probably, I believe it's going to happen.
There's
gotta
another one for
work
you.
Some things out.
David Barajas says the music is the proof. Great lyrics, great musicians, and great shows.
Absolutely.
I agree with you, David.
But, we really appreciate you guys for sticking around, and the numbers were great.
Did you
Yes.
guys see that they had another Taylor Hawkins thing last night?
I
Yes,
did not.
I did.
There's no TV footage of it, but
I
there's
wonder
YouTube.
if they knew that we had a Troy episode.
I think they
tonight.
did. That's why they scheduled the show for last night or the night before instead of
cool.
tonight.
There was one quick thing I wanted to say. I know we've been on a while, but I know a lot of you guys were asking in the chat room, is Troy going to get back with Tesla?
We just talked about that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
my opinion was
Never mind.
I believe it. When they get the wrinkles ironed out, that I think that he will. That's just my opinion. though.
I just think he's kind of enjoying doing different things in his life, and props to him for that. But
Sure.
thanks for letting me go to the bathroom. I
You
really
have to
appreciate
understand
that.
People do that.
the way that bands tour nowadays is not like it was.
No.
There's a lot of plane rides and commercial plane rides and you show up and the gear's there already.
Well, you see Rudy Sarzo post so many pictures all the time of him flying in airplanes, going to play for the weekend and go home.
Right.
and- yeah.
What a life! What a life!
Yeah.
Teresa, do you want to say hi? You've been a big help tonight. Can I put you on? She dressed up for us tonight. We didn't dress
I
up.
did not dress
We're
up.
slouches, and she
what
looks
did you
pretty.
think about the show tonight? Did you
I
have
thought
it?
it was great. I
Give us
thought
the top 3 highlights.
He could have gone on for days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he did.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I mean, and we have several more
great.
things to say.
I know.
We're just going to say them then.
So
Well, it was a great show, and thank you for all your help. She really helps keep track of all the viewer comments and stuff
She
like
does.
that. So
She does.
big asset to the show. I did not say big ass. I said big asset. So we appreciate her.
You know, when your face is when the microphone's right in your face, it's hard to read all the comments. You know.
Yes, we struggle. Well, let's.
people had a lot of nice things to say.
I know. I hope he can go back and read those comments. Let's real quick before we let people go. Thank you to our sponsors. I'm just going to read the names because of time. Okie PC. Thank you, Dustin, for the interview tonight.
Appreciate you, Dustin.
Identity Merch, DEB Concerts, Psychomo Filmworks, and Surviving Rocklahoma. Thanks for being a part of our team. We have upcoming shows, guys. Next Thursday, October 6th at 8 p.m., Anthony Corder of Tora Tora. You guys remember that band, Walking Shoes, right?
Guilty.
And I know there's more to them than just that. So we're going to find out his story.
I seen them open up for LA Guns at the Canes Ballroom.
Really?
I got thrown out of that concert too.
God,
That's
I'm so
for
glad
another
you're
show.
sober.
Save it for that show.
I'm so glad you're sober.
I've never got thrown out of a show before. I must have been
I was
doing
sober.
something
Let's
wrong.
work on that, Nine.
But-
I've been doing something wrong.
Let's arrange that. Okay.
We got thrown out because we're underage. We walked in and I had beers, and then the girl that was next to me didn't have the little wristbands, so they.
I'm sure you were just like, what?
Not smart.
What?
Not smart. Anyway, like I said, check us out next Thursday with Anthony Corder. And then the following Tuesday, just 5 days after that, we're going to talk to Steve Brown of Trickster. So we got some cool stuff coming up. You know, some of these guys maybe you don't know much about, so we're going to find out their story.
Well, make
Yeah.
sure you do.
Yeah, and see
I
what's
want to
going on.
ask Steve about the flannel that they wore, you know, because they were kind of like
Pre-grunge.
the pre-grunge,
Right.
80s rock.
I
where-
think Kurt Cobain said that was his biggest influence.
Right.
So we should credit Trickster for starting grunge. It had nothing to do with Nirvana.
I guess so.
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay, are we going to crumple up our papers?
Well, we can do whatever the hell we want.
Okay, we're getting ready to sign off. Thank you guys for hanging
I'm
out.
gonna sign mine and put it up on.
Wait, watch this. I got a bunch of index cards. Watch this.
Oh my God, don't make a mess. I have to clean that up. Okay, you're cleaning that up. Boom. All right, guys, we'll see you next Thursday.
Peace
Same
out,
time, same
folks.
place. Have a great night. Thanks for watching Tulsa Music Stream. Goodbye.